You want details? Fine. I drive a Ferrari 355 Cabriolet. What's up? I have a ridiculous house in the South Fork. I have every toy you can possibly imagine. And best of all, kids, I am liquid. So, now you know what's possible. Let me tell you what's required.
Make sure you check out Chris Ryan on the watch. And, of course, once we get all the basketball started up. But we will start with life advice. We got two of them for you. Life advice, rr@gmail.com. Okay, this one's a long one, but let's go for it. I'm a 26-year-old guy living in South Carolina. Graduated from college a couple years ago with a degree in finance. I worked in real estate for about 2.5 years. Real estate sales, 2.5 years right out of college. Currently working in finance, entry-level position. Okay. Girlfriend that I've been dating for 6+ years. We met in college our sophomore year. Been together since. We eventually moved in with each other right after college. That will be important later. Like I said, right out of college, I had the opportunity to work in real estate sales. I'm always blown away by anybody that meets in college, dates through college, survives the college part, and then gets, they're still together and then married afterwards. I think it might be a Southern thing. It never felt like a Northeast thing at all. And I would say Arizona State, we could throw in that group that's like, yeah, wait, people marry people from college? Arizona State, another level. My girlfriend required more schooling to get the job she ultimately wants in the medical field. After graduation, she got a full-time job working in retail while applying to schools. During this time, our financial situation was steady with our combined income. We were able to sustain it. Okay, so combined income, boom, got the place. I'll cut right to it. We signed a lease in May of 17. In August of 2017, my girlfriend admitted to me that she had had sex with a coworker at a job at the time a few months prior. So while they were together. All right, so sleeps with the guy from work.
Terrifying.
Right. Okay. All right. Whatever happens. I'm crushed. I'm broken. Yep. No problem. Get it. I was blindsided and only later recognized the behaviors that I'd missed. I couldn't stand to be at the apartment with her. Okay. So I went to stay at my parents' house to sort things out. Okay. Wait a minute. So after he's devastated, finds out she cheated on him, then he says, I couldn't stand to be at the apartment with her. So he went to his parents' house to sort things out. I ended up staying at my parents' house till that December. She convinced me to come back, saying things like she ultimately wanted me and that she saw herself with me, feeling lonely, being too nice and probably naive. I went back to the apartment and things proceeded as normal. I was more cautious and definitely the trust was broken. We proceeded through Christmas. Everything's fine, almost as nothing had happened. During Christmas, we got a puppy and unintentionally did the old get a dog and everything will be fine trick, or you could call it the have a baby to save this marriage. All right, we get it. Also in the same year, in 2017, in September 17, my mother passed away in a car accident out of nowhere. That sucks, man. Sorry to hear that. So I'm dealing with this personal relationship along with coping with my mother's passing. My girlfriend was the person there for me and helped me get through that situation. It was a weird dynamic mentally. My girlfriend had hurt me so much, but also she was my shoulder to cry on. That probably played into me being convinced to come back to live with her. Absolutely. You're going through this horrible tragedy and she's in this role doing a good job for you. And now because she's there and you're dealing with this tragedy, even though those other things that you're upset about have happened, you love that part of it. I mean, there's something about her that you love and you keep going back to her, as you say in this. So there's this, you don't need me to help you figure this out. There's something about her that you're in the moment, you're great with. And then when those other moments creep in, but those moments are winning. Those moments are winning versus the moments where you resent her and all that kind of stuff. So 2 years ago, my girlfriend gets in the clinical portion of her final requirement for education. I leave real estate to get a more stable, predictable amount of money coming in. My girlfriend's full-time schooling, still with a side job babysitting. Time goes by and there are no other cheating incidents that I'm aware of in my mind. I was thinking this could work and we still get married one day. All right, so you're thinking she slips up. She was there for you in tragedy. Boom, boom, boom. All right, so COVID lockdowns earlier this year come. My girlfriend's clinical gets postponed around that time, July or August. So she says that she wants to start to say yes more. Ooh, she must have read a book or an Instagram post from some philosopher with 12,000 followers. Maybe nothing more arrogant is I do these life advice emails than the person who's like got abs and it's like, all you need to do is say yes. Like, shut the fuck up. All right. She doesn't want to waste her remaining 20s not living. So this is the saying yes more. She started to reconnect with some long-term girlfriends of hers that she hadn't hung out with in a while. She starts saying yes to any and every request from these girls, some of them who live an hour away. Meanwhile, if I asked to be included at all, it's why don't you get your own friends, or this is my girl time. Why can't you let me have that? I have a couple of guy friends I keep in touch with regularly, mostly just joke about sports and shoot the shit and aren't deep relationships past that. If there's one thing guys are much better than girls at, that is having completely superficial, not deep relationships with your other male friends. So during this time, she's regularly taking trips to, we'll leave it at, we'll say North Carolina, and staying with her friends the weekend. During this weekend, she's almost non-responsive. Bad sign. It gets mad when I try to get any detail about what's up with her. Another bad sign. This Halloween, she went to a costume party with a friend in North Carolina, and she didn't want me to come. So if you're dating somebody in Halloween and you're not together on Halloween, terrible sign. I found this to be a huge red flag, was already suspicious. And please don't be a guy like, hey, I let my wife go to Halloween parties. I don't really like Halloween. You're not almost engaged with a girlfriend who lives with you, who's already admitted to cheating on you, who then decides to drive an hour away to go to a Halloween party that you're not invited to. So we already know where this one's going. Our current lease is up in January, and the topic of our next move is looming. She currently still only has, so we're talking a month and a half here. She only has the side income from the babysitting as she finishes her last semester of school. She wouldn't be able to afford to live on her own without me assisting. So now we're starting to wonder, wait, what's going on? Are you just a guy paying her rent while she's with other people? A few days go by, and we're talking about potential places to move, and she gets nervous and says she has to tell me something. She then admits to having sex with a random guy the weekend of her friend's birthday in September and another guy the weekend of Halloween. She said she'd met up with the second guy one more time. So that's two guys 3 times that you know about, by the way. So, I mean, she has no problem being sketchy, but then she has to tell you. So I guess maybe it is just the 2 guys and 3 times. My guess would be no, but I guess if she's willing to tell you about the coworker before in the email, then this sex fall romp, that maybe she is telling you the truth the entire time. I don't know. I mean, I don't know why you would trust anybody here. Hey, she was really honest about fucking me over. Oh, cool.
Come on, fool me once, man.
Yeah, right. Not only that, but she admitted that the second guy was a 6'9" Samoan guy.
So what's the email about? I don't get it.
It's almost over. She says that things with both guys were nothing serious. There's no further contact. She doesn't want them, but she wants to be with me. She says it had nothing to do with me, and it was just her wanting a thrill. This time I had almost no external reaction because I knew something had to be going on. I was internally really pissed in her. I felt betrayed, like trash, like I was worthless. This whole recent incident has been a secret to everyone. I've been too embarrassed to tell anyone. I haven't talked to anyone else about this. What should I do going forward? I love this girl and had plans to marry her one day. I don't want to be alone and waste these 6 years for nothing. I also don't want to keep happening. I don't want to keep treated like trash. Would you ever be able to forgive someone like this? Maybe I already know the answer. I just need someone else to help make it real. Okay. I would not be able to. We would not be getting a new rent together. We would not be looking at leases. You kind of knew this was going to happen, as you're smart. You knew, but you didn't want it to be true. So that's why you ignored some of the stuff. And I think the fact that she was there for you, not in the normal sense of relationship, she was there for you during a massive tragedy years ago. That's going to impact the way you are. So now I think we could do a really bullshit modern thing. Be like, okay, but what are her things that have led her to this? What are the things she needs to unlock about her past that can allow her to be so terrible to somebody that she says she loves and wants to be with? Now, fuck that. This girl sucks, man. She sucks. She's living with you. You're paying for most of it appears. And then she decides that she just wants to say yes more means just a bunch of other dudes. So, you guys had your run. But when you start to say, I felt betrayed, like trash, I feel worthless, why would you want to spend more time with someone like that? Now, there could be a chance, right? There could be a chance that she's better looking than you are. And that's something that's really messing you up because you think like, oh, I'm never going to be with a girl this attractive again. And, I want to make it work. All right, well, if that's more important, then you're going to have to get over all that other stuff. But you're not. You're never going to trust her. You're going to have these moments. Any little thing where she might not even be doing something, where if her Instagram's private by accident, then you're going to freak out. So that's what you're signing up for. So if you get back together with her, get the lease, and she says it was this thing, like for her to not have anything more than like, hey, I just want to live my life. I don't want to waste my 20s. I just want some thrills. And hey, the Samoan guy was only 2 times. Like, don't worry about it. Like, this is a very immature person and a selfish person. And even though there are these moments that obviously you're clinging to, because I think even in bad relationships, a lot of us can have these moments. Like, I remember in my 20s, again, I apologize for most of them, but this girl I was serious with, and then her friends would be like, what the fuck with him? Like, I get that people like him a lot, but I mean, I don't think that's like a long term, or at least he's not in the place. And she'd be like, you don't get it. He's so great when it's just us. And I'm laughing thinking about it now. And I'm like, I wasn't even great when it was just us. But she would defend me to all of her friends and be like, you don't see the other side of him that I do. And I'm like thinking back, and I'm like, there wasn't really much, there wasn't real complications with trying to figure me out back then. So this is normal, that your fear is you don't get to feel those feelings anymore that make you really like her and are still attracted to her. But I mean, you already knew the answer to this. Like, I don't want to examine what her deal is or why she could do this. Clearly, she has some need to have the stable, real adult thing with you. But that's the point of all this stuff, is that, like, the older people listening to this, they already know this. Yes, sometimes it gets a little stale. Yes, sometimes you're going to fight. Yes, sometimes you're going to be bored. You don't get to have the thrill all the time, but that's part of, growing with somebody and truly trusting that person, whether it's starting the family and having that one person in your life that, no matter what, they have your back. That's the whole point. And you're not even getting that during the supposed non-serious phase. So, whatever. I mean, if you're sitting there saying, hey, I feel like trash, I feel worthless, she makes me do these things, then why would you want to do that more? So yeah, it's going to suck. You're going to miss her. She's going to tell you, especially if you step up and go, I'm done with this, then she's going to come back and want you even more, clearly, because I can tell she's that type. And you're going to have to resist her, or you can give in and feel like trash and worthless at times when there are moments where you're not going to be able to trust her 5 years from now.
Right? When it's 10 years later? No, man.
10 years later, it's like, so this pool guy, now he is cool.
Oh, no.
And she said, hey, he was the fill-in pool guy. He's not even our main pool guy. So that part I understand. But you already know the answer. You didn't need to write that email to me, but I appreciate you doing it. Let's do one more. Okay, my man checking in here. Probably should find someone to ask that's actually married, but I've been listening since I was sitting around LSU in 2010. Met my wife around the same time. Unrelated, just for the notes. All right, so hopefully we don't sell this guy entirely. If he's an LSU guy, people are going to start connecting the dots. Anyway, love my wife and all, but she holds on to stuff for the longest time. She wants my input on things, but refuses to listen to any of my advice. Most recently dragged me to look for couches on Master Sunday. No big deal. It was pretty boring. I can keep up with a few holes I missed on my phone. All right. Hey, man, that's great. That's a good sign right there. The issue is my opinion doesn't fucking matter. I like this one. Really comfortable in our budget. That's me. She puts on a stink face and comes up with any excuse to not like it. She claims she doesn't do it, but it happens every time. She's still mad at the one time I showed balls. My only request for the wedding was that my grooms wear the black tuxes that they all own. We were all in our late 20s and owned one or two, plus not one person gives a shit about what my dipshit friend's tux looks like. I didn't want to make them spend $200 to rent a tux that fits shitty and almost looks the exact same. She, of course, thought otherwise and picked out a rental against my wishes. I decided to disregard the email about the rentals, essentially is what he's saying here, and go about it as planned. She found out at the church, and guess what? She's the only one that noticed. We're talking about his groomsmen's tuxes here. It's infuriating when she does task with me because she's unable to get out of the way. She's now vetoing every garage fridge and then sending me the same fridge from a different store. It's maddening. The thing is, if I just buy one to end, I have to spend the rest of my life hearing about how it's the wrong fridge. Do I just quit trying to help altogether, or just go with my gut and buy the shit I want, or think that will work best? Okay, like all of us, if you're buying a house, relationships like buying a house. Not to try to, the great thing about real estate. I'm doing my cow herd, but when you're buying a house, you can be like, hey, I want a porch, I want 2 parking spots, I want this kind of shower head. I want all these different things. And you're not going to get all of those things. You're just not. Whatever your checklist is, it's not going to happen unless you unless you build your own house. And I doubt you're going to want to build a sex robot. So everything working out to your standards isn't going to happen. This does sound annoying. So it sounds like you're right. there's something to this where I don't know how many of you can remember something like this. Maybe you're the person, but where if you like music, a certain kind of music, and your roommate recommends, back in my day, be like, oh, you got to listen to the CD. I love this guy's. And like all of a sudden your buddy becomes the Sublime guy because he was the first one that started playing it. And then he wants to be super Sublime guy. So he's playing it all the time. And I'm actually saying this because I had a roommate who came back one summer, our senior year, was like going to be Sublime guy, no matter how bad we didn't want it to happen. It was just always going to be on. It was going to be on during the day. It was going to be on during awkward hours because he just wanted, it was just known. Like, I feel like he almost wanted to introduce him as Sublime guy to people. And then he'd be like, hey, what do you think? And the thing is, you kind of like it, right? Like Sublime, what's wrong with that? You shouldn't get mad at it. But he kind of overdid it, that the rest of us are like, yeah, it's all right. It's all right. And I felt like I was fighting liking it because I didn't want to agree with his recommendation and his dominating way of putting this music on it, right? So instead of just relaxing and going, yeah, you know what? He's right. This is pretty good. This is fun. A fun listen. It's not my go-to, but it's a good listen. And I started to just downgrade them and that CD because it was more about the roommate wanting to force it on us, which is weird. All of that's weird. I think that happens a lot. That's not nearly as important as your wife, but my guess would be that there's a lot of stuff about her you really like. You didn't mention anything else negative. Okay? So there's no one out there that is going to, like, there's always, you're doing something to her that you're doing wrong. You realize that. You may not, you probably don't. I actually think most of us don't go, hey, what am I terrible at? Or even less likely to, you know what I'm really bad at? You know what's constantly my fault? This. For whatever reason, however we're wired, rare is the person that can just sit around and go, hey, I got to own this. Whether we have problems at work, problems in relationship, it's always somebody else's fault. And you're probably doing something that maybe she doesn't like as much. I'm with you though, man. That's really, really annoying. I would say in the future, and maybe you have to do a serious thing where you could even do it with a bit of a smile. If you've been together 10 years, you met her, you were younger, and you're still like, just go, hey, look, I want to tell you something. And you just hear me out here. And I'm not even mad. But you don't want to hear my opinion on anything. And that's okay. So like, I'll go with you, but it's clear that you don't care. Like if I'm recommending a fridge and then you say no to that one, you're just subliming me is all you're doing. I'm pointing at a fridge and it's not the fridge. It's that it was my suggestion because then you just went ahead and picked out the exact same fridge. And so I totally get what she's doing. I completely understand how annoying it is. I would give it one shot at like, I'm not mad. I don't really even care. I'm just bringing it up. I'm not asking you to improve upon it. I'm just telling like, don't ask me about the fridges anymore. Okay. Like this isn't about not having balls. It isn't, because this isn't that big of a deal. This really isn't that big of a deal. If the worst thing is that if you suggest a couch or a fridge that she just wants to somehow, she just has probably a little bit more alpha personality where she's saying, hey, I just want the fridge to be my decision. That's really not that bad. That's really not, in the grand scheme of being married and some of these other emails we get, that's not that bad. And that's why I want to do that one. This was a huge week for The Ringer. It was a huge week for this podcast and for me. I got engaged this week. No, I'm just kidding. It was the draft. So what do we got? I want to thank everybody for subscribing, getting the word out, keeping all that stuff going. I know it's kind of annoying to hear about it all the time, but your boy, top 3 episodes in sports right now are either my shows or me as a guest on other shows. So that felt awesome because of how much I love this draft. And, at this point, this is the number 3 podcast in sports. So it's not the coolest thing to brag about being number 3 when we know there are 2 monsters topping the charts every single week. And those are my closest friends and 2 of the podcasts I was on this week. So obviously we're all competitive and all that kind of stuff, but it just makes me feel good that from the ESPN point to getting to this point, looking at episode rankings every single week now for months, this podcast has been number 3 more than any of the other podcasts in sports. So keep it going. Thank you so much. And we'll talk to you next week.